besides this?
This should freak everybody out.
It's the Homeless Left with Matt Weinglass and co-host DON DeBAR. Episode 77, is this the golden age of America? And here's your host, Matt Weinglass.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Homeless Left. I'm your host, Matt Weinglass. We have a great show planned for you today. We have DON DeBAR. He's going to be checking in with us live from Washington, D.C., right after the Trump inauguration happened yesterday. I know you guys have probably been tuning into that. So we're going to be giving you guys some deep coverage on how everything went down from D.C., the aftermath, everything that's happened in the last 24 hours. I wanted to give a shout out to Mickey Willis in the opening, the Trump dance. I was considering waiting to later in the show to play that. It's a little over the top, but we do want to acknowledge that there are a lot of people celebrating right now. It's a time for more than half the country is in celebration mode. Obviously, you guys know we here at the Homeless Left go a little bit further into the complexities of what we're actually bringing in now in this new regime. Out with the old regime and with the new, but did anything even change at all? You guys know we've been having these conversations all the time, all year long, all last year leading up till now. So it's a significant moment, changing of the guard, but we do want to give acknowledgement that there is at least something in the air that more than half the country is actually in celebration mode right now. So we can, talk more about that later in the show. We are calling today's show, Is This the Golden Age of America? That was Trump's opening line at the inauguration, calling this the Golden Age of America. What does that even mean? We have to get into Biden and what he did in his last 24 hours leading into the end of his 4 years and the pardons that went down. You guys saw the Fauci pardon and all his family members. We got to get into that as well. And then what Trump immediately did when he got into office, the executive orders that were issued. We're going to talk more about the ceasefire situation. We call it ceasefire theater. Later on in the show, we got a little This Week in HOLLYWOKE. We want to look into the Dave Chappelle monologue at the Saturday Night Live opening. That's something to look at. And also, we're going to look at a little interview from Cori Bush by Michael Tracey, where she gives away the Biden-Ukraine Proxy War con job that we've all been part of for the last three and a half years. But we are going to be coming to you guys every week now, twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 12 noon Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern. And we are streaming live on Rumble and Twitter, X, as you guys know. And now we have our new channel up finally now on YouTube. Now, you guys know we actually have been terminated from YouTube previously. So the Homeless Left does not actually exist on YouTube until we just came up with this burner account. So actually there's our banner. Let me go ahead and throw you guys that in case you haven't known yet. We just started this channel, THL Presents, now on YouTube. It's our little burn. We call it the burner channel because we got to be kind of careful with their algorithms, the censorship industrial complex. You guys know they target channels like ours as we're just getting momentum and having the conversations that they don't want us to have, challenging big pharma, challenging the military industrial complex, particularly challenging Israel. They don't like that. They don't like if we're not saying that Putin is the next settler. They don't like it when we don't give standing ovations to Benjamin Netanyahu. So those type of things put you on kind of a red flag. You get on this little list, shadow ban list, and then ultimately what happens is you do get terminated if you do too much, and you get the medical misinformation strike. So we've been down that path before. Hopefully we can make this one we're going to be a little more clever about what we put up, what we don't put up, but we are on YouTube right now. And of course, you guys know we're right here on Twitter and on Rumble. That's our home base. This is where we don't get censored. We get surveillanced, but we don't get censored. So that's good. So we can have the conversations. They'll keep track of us. They'll keep us in databases. I don't know if there's anything we do about that, but at least they won't pull the plug on us. So we do appreciate that on Rumble, on Twitter. And of course, you guys can show us your support on Locals. Homeless Left is on Locals. We do appreciate any one-timer or ongoing contribution to what we're trying to do as independent media, honest independent media, non-tribal approach to news, which we do, which we've been giving to you guys for the last year and a half. We want to continue going strong from here. And then don't forget to follow me and the Homeless Left on X/Twitter. Okay. Before we get started, we just want to let you guys know, reminder to anybody watching today, welcome to this channel. We're here for anybody who's feeling uneasy about the state of politics, our economy, our society over these last few years. Anyone who feels like the party's let them down, whatever party you felt part of, whatever tribe you felt like, this is the club you're in. You feel good when you wake up. You feel like you're part of a family, but you're getting pushback just for asking questions. And you no longer want to play that game of tribalism. You no longer want to play this game of identity politics and the red team versus the blue team. If you're sick and tired of all the hate and the division being sold to us by the media, and you're sick and tired of being told to punch down at people, punch at your neighbor, punch at your family members and friends and colleagues, and you're ready to start punching up with us, well then, the Homeless Left is the place for you. We happen to be homeless from the left. You might be homeless somewhere else. What's your story? Where are you homeless from? From the right, from the middle, from the up, from the down, all around, upside down, it don't matter. Let's all be homeless together. Okay. Let's right now, what we're going to do is I want to show the end of Biden's final 24 hours before we get into what happened with Trump. So, I don't know if you guys are aware, CNN showed us the stats right in the last few hours. They put it right up on the screen. What are the stats? What is the approval rating for Biden? It can't be that bad, right? It can't be like the worst of all time. That would be exaggerating, right? Or would it? Let's check it out.
Number. All right. A good or great president at the end of their terms. Well, Barack Obama, 52% of Americans thought he was a good or great president at the end of his presidency, 2017. Donald Trump, very much behind Barack Obama at 36%. But look at how low Joe Biden is. My goodness gracious, you can't really get lower than 25% in our polarized era, because the bottom line is there's going to be a bunch of Democrats who would say that Biden was a good or great president no matter what he did. But yet it's only a quarter of the country who believes that Joe Biden was a good or great president. It is the lowest number since AP Nork started tracking this back at the end of Barack Obama's second term. Bottom line is Joe Biden goes out a very unpopular man at the end of a 50-plus year political career.
It is. It's so interesting, and there's so many questions too about like, are we so more divided now than we were back in 2017? Is it Joe Biden? There's a lot there to chew on.
Yeah.
I do want you to talk us through Trump's popularity at this point.
Yeah. So if Joe Biden's numbers are at his lowest point, right? Donald Trump's are right near his top point. We have a little thing up here. I'm so tall, I was managed able to actually bump it. Look at this. Trump's record favorable rating. You go back 4 years ago, he was at 38%. Look at where he is today, 47%. That is the highest favorable rating Donald Trump has ever registered in an average of polls. So,
do you guys think that they know why this is? Do you think they're legitimately confused? Because I know a lot of regular people, especially here in LA, they're totally confused by this. They don't want to believe these numbers. Do you guys think the media pundits, do you think they know what's happening here? Do you think they know that they're losing the narrative, that they're losing this ability to divide us and make us think Hitler just came into office and that Joe Biden's a good man, very decent man, good friend, as Bernie Sanders once said, very good friend of mine, Joe Biden. Do you think that they know why this is happening? I do. I think they know. I think they don't want to have to report this, but you know what? You can throw Biden out now and you can figure out a way to kind of keep this narrative of the good guys have to get back get their shit together and get things back in order. You can kind of maybe throw Biden out in the trash and try and figure out a way to reposition this narrative that we have to stop Hitler. I don't know how they're going to do it, because they have the least ratings ever at this point in their history. That's where they're at right now. That's where CNN is right now. I think there might be another minute or two on this. Let's see.
What we're dealing with is something very interesting, whereby, as I was saying, Joe Biden's at his worst point. Donald Trump is actually at his best point, being with this such a high favorable rating. One other little last thing I will point out, because I want to get to the forecast a little bit, is just take a look at this. Will Trump be a good president? In January of 2017, you saw 48% for Donald Trump. Look at where we are today. A majority expect that Donald Trump will be a good president. So expectations for him are quite high. We'll see if he's able to meet those expectations, Jessica.
Yeah. And
wow. I think that's kind of an honest report. I know they don't want to have to do it. I do think they know exactly what's going on. But again, there's a lot of confused people, a lot of people, and we know, right, like I said earlier, right here in LA, all over the country, especially in these blue states, especially in these big cities, they're confused as hell right now. They don't know what to think. They've been brainwashed. They've been captured. Their minds have been captured. And I feel kind of bad for a lot of them, because they don't really know what's actually going on right now. Well, you want to know what's actually going on right now? This is the type of garbage that Fauci, that Biden gave us in the last 24 hours. If you guys didn't hear about this, he issued this on the 20th. This was literally yesterday, right before Trump was sworn in. This is a statement from Joe Biden. Our nation relies on dedicated, selfless public servants every day. They are the lifeblood of our democracy. Blah, 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 blah. General Mark A. Milley, blah, blah, blah. Dr. Anthony Fauci. So he's saying in certain cases, some have even been threatened with criminal prosecutions. Threatened with what? The criminal prosecutions with the judicial system that you used against Trump. This is a threat against these people. Well, what are you going to do about it? Oh, and that also includes the entire committee to investigate the January 6th. So it's not just this General Mark Milley. It's not just Anthony Fauci. It's the entire committee. So he's saying we need to protect these public servants, and they do not deserve to be targets of unjustified and politically motivated prosecutions. Well, that's funny, because I thought that if you go through the honest, trusted court system, the judicial system, it would take care of itself, right? If these are unjustified claims against them, wouldn't the system in place be able to take care of that? Why would you have to do this? It's very bizarre, very bizarre. So he gives a whole thing on Milley and serving our nation for 40 years, blah, 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 blah. Look, all the stuff he did. And then go down here to Fauci, second paragraph. For more than half a century, Dr. Fauci served our country. He saved countless lives by managing the government's response to pressing health crisis, including HIV, AIDS, as well as Ebola and Zika viruses. During his tenure as my chief medical advisor, he helped the country tackle a once-in-a-century pandemic. The United States is safer and healthier because of him. Okay, if you really believe that, let it speak for itself. Very strange that you have to put this letter out, tell us how great these people are, particularly Fauci, and then give this BS justification for why you're pardoning these psychopaths. Down to the second paragraph. This is why I'm exercising my authority under the Constitution to pardon General Milley, Anthony Fauci, and the members of Congress and staff who served on the select committee for the J6 hearings. If you go down to the bottom here, the issuance of these pardons should not be mistaken as an acknowledgement that any individual engaged in wrongful doing, nor should acceptance be misconstrued as an admission of guilt for any offense. Our nation owes these public servants a debt of gratitude for their tireless commitment to our country. Wow. Holy wow. By the way, according to Wall Street Apes, and this is interesting to point out, we had the same thing when he pardoned his son Hunter. We saw the timeline. If you're wondering why Joe Biden chose the year 2014 for Anthony Fauci's pardon, it's because that's when Barack Obama and Fauci took over the Ukraine biolabs. Oh, that's another thing we're not allowed to talk about. The biolabs. The 2014, the same year, the CIA took over the Ukraine government. So interesting that must be a coincidence, right? That and then Ukraine falls into the civil war February 2014. For the next 8 years, we have total chaos there until we finally push. You put Biden into office. Trump kind of delayed this process when his first term, but then you put Biden in, and then you push Putin for the invasion in February of 2022, 8 years later. But we weren't allowed to talk about the biolabs, which we know for a fact are there, and we're funded by all these companies. We know the whole thing, guys. We covered this on the show. So Fauci is directly connected to that. That's why his pardon begins the same time that Hunter Biden's begins, which is the beginning of 2014. He gets 11 years. Isn't that interesting? 11 years. What a random number. It's not like 10 years. It's 11 years. So bizarre. So bizarre. Wow. All that protection. Yep. And the dates match perfectly. So there you go. This is why he was pardoned for that 11 years. Same timeline as Hunter Biden. Let's look at Rand Paul, as we know, who really was the spearheader in Congress that went up against Fauci for the last 4 years. Let's see what he has to say about this. If there was any doubt as to who bears responsibility for the COVID pandemic, Biden's pardon of Fauci forever seals the deal. As chairman of the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, I will not rest until the entire truth of the cover-up is exposed. Fauci's pardon will only serve as an accelerant to pierce the veil of deception. And then let me take this banner off here. Yes, Fauci will go down in history as the first government scientist to be preemptively pardoned for a crime. Oh my God. And then he goes and does this. We thought that was it. And then this literally hit minutes before Trump swore in yesterday. Minutes before. Biden goes and pardons 5 more members of the Biden family. Holy crap. Throw Hunter in there as well. Obviously, we already knew that one. Wow. Why are they getting pardoned? It's so weird because I thought that when you preemptively pardon someone, that means they're guilty. I mean, the media must be going crazy over this, right? I mean, they must understand how ridiculous and how incriminating this is, right? Because this is what they used to say 4 years ago. This is what the media used to say. Let's watch a few of this. Did somebody put this together? Gotta watch a couple of these clips just to remind you how the media spun this and how they're spinning it now and pretending this is totally standard, totally normal. Let's see what they did 4 years ago when Trump was, and let's be clear, considering preemptive pardons. He didn't actually do it. He was considering it, and the media went batshit crazy about it. Check it out.
Number. All right. A good.
Oops. Sorry. Wrong one. Here we go. Preemptive pardons. They went crazy about it. Here we go.
Have you ever heard of somebody getting a preemptive pardon who was innocent of all crime? Who's just an innocent person? Have you ever heard of that? Just somebody getting a blanket pardon and they're an innocent person?
But no, it's the president's own family. It's people that have been covering up for the president in addition to his own family.
Is there an innocent explanation for someone to seek preemptive pardons for family members? Would you do that if you knew you were innocent and just worried about outside forces?
The answer to that is going to be no. If you haven't done anything wrong, you sit there and go, what do you need a preemptive pardon for?
If he pardons people preemptively, he's essentially telling the public that these people have committed crimes. And we may not be aware of what they are, but the pardon is clear evidence that crimes have been committed.
I imagine if he decides to issue these preemptive pardons, it will be cast in a way that he is protecting his family and protecting their reputations from, villainous exterior forces that are against him.
First off, we should just take a deep breath and acknowledge the audacity of a president who's so clearly concerned about his own criminal culpability and that of his family members that pardons are a major obsession with him.
The idea of a kind of prospective pardon, this sort of permanent federal get-out-of-jail-free card, that seems to be what we're talking about in the case of this, right, with Giuliani and his 3 eldest children who, as far as we know, have not been convicted of a crime. Maybe they've committed a lot, and they don't want to face action. I don't know. It's weird. I wouldn't ask for a pardon. I don't think I deserve one because I don't think I've done anything criminal. But, like, where does that come from, that concept that you can just kind of wave your magic pardon wand?
We have Tish James. We have Xavier Becerra. Mimi Rocha is literally my DA in my town. There will be opportunities to prosecute these people regardless if they abuse the pardon power as they are thinking.
Hopefully, Ellie, there will be a skyfall on this entire crime family, and there will be another day for them to die.
The president does indeed pardon, let's say, Rudy Giuliani or any members of his family. Would you see that, and I asked Preet Bharara this question, as essentially an admission of guilt?
I certainly would view it that way. I think millions of Americans would view it that way. If there was no belief in criminality, why would he think a pardon was necessary?
CNN has learned President Biden will pardon his son Hunter Biden.
Adam Schiff there at the end. So all these people, they're all concerned at the moment that Trump was even considering this. Now, I want to be clear on the timeline here. This Fauci thing didn't come out of nowhere. We covered this on the show weeks ago. That Biden was already talking about this. The media was silent, completely silent. He was discussing this, and he was waiting to the very last minute to do this. And so you didn't even have the discussion, the talking point of interesting that Biden's considering this. And we saw what he did with the Hunter thing. He actually said out loud, I will not consider pardoning my son, let alone these other family members he just did literally minutes before Trump took the oath of office. Minutes before. It was like you could count the seconds of the end of his presidency. He did this, and he wasn't even considering it. He said, no, I'm not doing this. No, not Hunter. Never. I don't do that. I don't take advantage. Now, look, considering something is considering something, right? So Biden lied about that the whole way, but the fact that the media and we saw these clips that you guys just saw, went back to back to back. Just the consideration of doing this made them livid. They were thus, you can't even talk about it. Now, total crickets. So that's the Biden legacy. We're going to get more into his legacy a little later in the show. We got some more admittance from the Democratic Party of how awful and shitty his entire 4 years, probably the worst 4 years we've ever experienced in our lifetimes. I know in my lifetime, probably in many people's lifetimes. And you could probably date it back. Some might say the worst 4 years in the history of our country could be what we just lived through, down to the last minute. Okay, so we'll get into some of that a little later. I'm going to do this right now because we had the inauguration yesterday, and as you guys know, we weren't live, but some other friends of the show and other colleagues of ours covered this. We had, Kit Cabela did some great coverage. The Due Dissidents guys did some great coverage. I know you guys were tuning into those guys, and if you were watching Due Dissidents, you might have seen Don DeBAR checking in live from the ground in DC. So luckily we were able to he's still there now, and we got some more thoughtful coverage from Don because there was so much was going on. It was so chaotic yesterday, and we're glad that he was able to take some time, come on the show with the Homeless Left, and give us his full breakdown. We're going to go through some of the stuff he was able to coverage and engage with and get some interviews. And we're going to discuss everything that's happened leading up to the inauguration and what's happened in these last 24 hours. So please, without further ado, let's welcome back to the show our guest correspondent live from Washington, D.C., Don DeBAR.
How you doing?
Hey, Don. Hey, the sound is a little low. Let's see what we can do something with that.
Testing 1, 2. Let's see here. What can we do? Let me check the settings here also. Audio, test 1, 2.
That's a little better. Yes.
How's that? Is that better?
Yes. Perfect.
That's good?
Yeah. One of these days we got to
automatically adjust mic volume is a winner.
There you go.
Okay.
We got to get you a mic, a clip on, or a something for yeah, at some point we can work on that.
Yeah.
I'm not. Do you have the clip on? Is it attached?
Oh, yeah. You're not hearing me?
No, I'm only hearing the room noise right now.
Oh, really? Hold on a second. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second here.
Okay.
Settings. Oh, right. I know why. Because I unplugged it.
That happened. Yeah.
I got it. We want this. It is that one. Testing 1, 2. How's that?
I think you're still on the room audio, not on the mic, but
testing 1, 2. That should be the clip on.
No, it's still got the echo room, which is we can hear you if that's
How's that?
We can hear you.
Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Test 1, 2.
I think we're still picking you up in the
Yeah, I understand. Hold on.
That's okay. We can at least hear you.
Takes a minute. Up. That's why. Here we go. Now we want.
Oh, there we go.
Really? That's it.
That did it.
Okay.
That did it. We got you now. Very good.
Okay.
Don, welcome back to the Homeless Left, and you're still out in DC. I want to hear everything that's been going on. I know you sent me a couple things here. Do you want to give us kind of a quick rundown, and then I want to play a couple of your interviews here you were able to do there. What's the vibe like? I guess I just want to throw it out to you. Like, how does it feel out there as far as all the happenings? I know it was pretty chaotic yesterday.
I'm remembering 1,050 years ago, being in a college dormitory with my girlfriend, arriving Friday night, spending pretty much the entire weekend in our room. How I felt about 5 o'clock in the morning, Monday morning, lying half off the bed, panting with exhaustion and sweating. That's what this city looks like today. The last few days, it's been packed with people everywhere in the city, traveling from one place to another. First of all, challenging just with the military and police security infrastructure that they started installing in the middle of last week. When we arrived on Wednesday afternoon, there were already military police, shore patrol, DHS, FBI, God knows who else, cops with Arkansas plates and plates from Oregon and all over the country, everywhere, and street closures everywhere. So the people that are familiar with the grid in Washington, D.C., rather than being a straight grid like a tic-tac-toe board like Manhattan, say, with a few stragglers like Broadway crossing it, you have quadrants, 1, 2, 3, 4, northwest, northeast, southwest, southeast, and each of them has some of the same street names in it, except it's not the same street. So it's a little confusing if you don't know your way around. And then you have GPS, which helps in some ways. It's about 95% accurate, which is pretty good, except for that 5%, and then you're screwed. And then the real, thing here is that all of a sudden you're cruising 5 or 6 blocks on your way to where you have to be, and there's another road closure. And the people involved in setting it up, even on Monday, Sunday on Monday, really didn't know what else there was in the immediate vicinity because they haven't really been off the block. So it was very challenging to get around. And while we were watching them roll this out, we were trying to imagine exactly what it was that would provoke such a reaction. Like what were they anticipating, expecting? We saw no violence, even antipathy, anger being vented. It was like a huge celebration. Even the protesters that were here, people sounded kind of angry, I would say, and afraid, which what's being reported about what is about to happen for people that believe that particular line. I can understand why they're upset. There are people that believe that this is 1932 and Adolf Hitler was just appointed as chancellor, and that we're about to start burning. They were saying first gay people, but I guess the YMCA thing the other night put a damper on that. Now you can't find it on YouTube. There were celebrations of parties everywhere and bodies everywhere. That being the point. I'm looking at the infrastructure that they installed and wondering why, and I saw masses of human beings everywhere and said, "Oh, they're trying to just manage traffic." It was a real pain in the neck. It was cold. It's been cold as hell here since I got here. Today, I think it's 21 degrees Fahrenheit. And a little bit of a breeze, so it feels even colder than that. And when we went, they generally hold the inauguration on the steps of the Capitol building. They move that inside to the rotunda. When they hold it outside, it's visible from the mall, the National Mall, and so 500,000 people or whatever pile into that. They expected ticketed apparently 200,000 people to mob the National Mall while that happened. When they moved it inside, they moved the public to a warm place also, which is what they call the Capital One Arena, which is unfortunately 20,000 seats roughly for 200,000 ticketed people. So I had gotten tickets to cover it, and we couldn't get near the place. We were online and winding through these streets in the neighborhood there for an hour and a half, 2 hours. And when we were a block away, they announced that no one else was being let in, and we were pretty early. So a lot of people, nevertheless, rather than seeing people come back angry, disappointed, or whatever, and I spoke with a couple of them, they were celebratory. There are people here from all over the country who came here because they think that there's some sort of a shift for the better that's taking place. Are they right? That's a separate question. I interviewed some with Russell and Keaton on Monday, and just like any other group that you interview, it's not like you're getting folks with a PhD in political science or economics or government, whatever. Ordinary people who see the political system as having an impact on their everyday lives, who apparently have the groups that I spoke with and the people that I've met while I've been here are people who thought things were not going well, and not just during Biden's time, although certainly that, but over the decades and over the years past, and that they see the possibility of a change. The things that I heard from people that were important to them, and this was as broad a mix as I could get, is there people who would not let me interview them because they saw me interviewing people with Trump hats and stuff on. Essentially, they were concerned at first about their own situation, about prices, price of food, medical care, things like that. The social issues, quote unquote, were very high on the list also. Surprisingly to me, I still don't understand how, but I know why we're fed that stuff, because it does provoke a response in people. Girls, basketball being protected from boys dressed as girls, is the way I heard it put. Other social issues along those lines. And a sense, though, that there was some sort of an adjusting of the public narrative that would allow, more free speech and less restriction. I think certainly the things that are going on with the announcements by a variety of social media outlets that they're going to stop, quote unquote, censoring, quote unquote, and Musk's takeover of X, Twitter, whatever, and the opening of that, the announcement that TikTok, which had been suspended for a few hours, was going to be allowed to operate. almost everyone I spoke with mentioned these things. It was important to them to be able to connect with other people using these platforms, and so that was on their mind also. I think finally, the thing that seemed most important to the people that I spoke with was that they felt that they had a chance to be heard, not just in social media, but just generally in the electoral system again. There were a good number of people who felt that the last election was stolen in 2020. I know that that's an unpopular view, almost diagnosable as some sort of psychiatric condition among some, but I've seen the same psychosis, if that's what it is, in people discussing the 2000 election, the 2004 election, and others. And I share that psychosis in those elections because I did a considerable amount of research myself, both on the ground and through the court systems. And in any event, the thing that matters is the perception by the people of what's happened. They seem to feel now that they're being heard and that they have an opportunity to have their hands on the government in some ways where they didn't feel that before. And there's a city full of them right now. And oddly enough, that city, at least up until today, has been for the last week, Washington, D.C.
Well, I'm going to play one of these interviews. I know you said you found a bar. You let me know this before you came on. That would, I guess, be the one place in D.C. You're saying is. Let me throw this on the stage here. So this is they call it this may be the only bar in D.C. publicly supporting Trump. All right, let's check out this video, and I want to hear your reaction on this. Here we go.
I saw that, I knew that this was the place.
USA! 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 We will make America great again. Thank you. USA! Thank you. Thank you. USA! Thank you.
As soon as I saw that,
yeah, that's interesting because I was in DC 4 years prior, and it was clearly a place where they were afraid. They were actually afraid. This is I will let me ask you, were you there last time? Were you there 4 years ago? Because I know we didn't know each other then. I didn't have the show then.
no, I watched C-SPAN, and no, I didn't. I wasn't here.
So I was helping with some camera stuff for BBC coverage. They were there doing the Newsnight show, and I was on set with them. The whole thing was about the fear that Trump people were going to be so angry they were going to destroy the city. It was insane, and so they had boarded everything up. They thought these people are just they're gonna destroy everything. They're just these vicious, as Hillary once said, they're deplorables. As Biden's now saying they're garbage. All the divisive language, right, to get people to think that 4 years ago these people were going to destroy everything. Now, you mentioned earlier, I want to ask about this. So the people there protesting the inauguration, were they doing anything? Like what was their vibe? You said they were kind of angry, confused, maybe sad, or what was their vibe? Because this is like the reverse, right? This is them not really knowing how to function now that they're watching their guy go out, and this Hitler character coming in that they were told it was Germany, not Nazi Germany again.
Yeah, the same as 4 years ago. Fear is what sold to people to encourage them into this sort of frenzied state of opposition. Around DC, they're handing out pamphlets. What to do if ICE comes knocking on your door, and the horrible things that are about to happen.
Wow.
If you look at the AP wires, AP.com or AP.com, the Washington Post, also the New York Times, people are terrified that horrible things are going to start happening to the most vulnerable. And also, it's pretty frightening in the social media sphere. I'm seeing people talk about, they're referring to Trump. The only criticism that they have now, forget the Hitler thing and all the other stuff they had before, was now he's a convicted felon.
Yeah.
There's people that, for years have worked on criminal justice issues with, who have given zero credibility to criminal conviction coming out of the court system for most of my life. All of a sudden, the most damning thing about Trump is that he has criminal conviction. So there's there's a disconnect from people's own, political sentiments and histories that's sort of driving this. And you can look at the media, and which media outlet someone is looking at, and really it's frightening to the degree that you can predict what they're going to say and how they're going to behave in the context of something like this. The people that are looking at MSNBC and CNN are of the opinion that Trump is a special, unique, or not even almost, unique danger to the republic, a term that most of them haven't used in their whole lives, by the way, and that the democracy that exists in this country, which most of them would have denied only 10 minutes ago, is under threat or about to be lost forever, and that we're talking about death camps for gays and other things as a part of the political discourse, and so there's an energy to the protests here and 4 years ago. I mean, this is not a phenomenon just of, I'm not going to use the term the left either, because that is not the left. But it's not just a phenomenon of the supporters of Democratic candidates, but also of Trump and other candidates. The media here has, they understand they have a monopoly on the pathway of information from the outside world to the brains of everyone looking at it. Everything that people know about what happens in Washington, from Congress to the streets, gets their information through the media. How many people read the Congressional Record on a daily basis? How many people sit in front of CNN, C-SPAN, which is also, by the way, the media, and watch the proceedings in different committees and others? And I don't mean the ones that they feature today, because what's going to be conducted, the circus that's going to happen inside a committee meeting today, is part and parcel of a larger public relations campaign that's being conducted. But the everyday goings on of the various congressional committees, most people can't afford the time to do that. The members of Congress can't do that. How does somebody that's got to feed their family slinging hamburgers or driving a taxi or loading a dock or working in a factory, how are they going to do that? That we rely entirely, almost, upon the media, what's fed to us through the media.
I don't think, Don, that it's an issue of people don't have time to pay attention. I think we're talking about, because you mentioned about, you brought up the convicted felon thing, and this part is important because you and I covered this together when that verdict happened. I remember in real time we were looking at that as those felonies he was officially a convicted felon. And I think that there were very smart people that were studied in law, people that were very book smart, very on point, were looking at this and still couldn't see between the capture. And I think that's what the main problem is. It's the capture of these people. You and I mean, look, I said 4 years ago, I was working out in DC where you are right now. I was working with BBC. These are people that do this all day long. They get paid to do this. So they don't have that excuse of I don't have time to look at this. They were all captured too. I literally walked into that studio and every single person, cameraman in front of the camera, director, production assistant, everybody was like, we have to stop these psychopaths from taking over our city. And so like you ask yourself, well, where do you get that from? You do have the time to pay attention. You do have the time to look at it. Lawyers and studied people now, when the 34 felonies went through, they have time, they have energy, they can look at it. Why don't they see it? I don't think they see it because they've already been captured. Their brain is already in a position where it's going to filter out stuff that's right in front of their face. How else do we explain watching the J6 thing go down? And as you and I and people that aren't wearing their tribal goggles, aren't wearing these captured helmets or whatever the hell other people are wearing, we could see that evidence coming out more and more. We can see all of the obvious, infiltration elements of that thing. And like for people to purposely ignore it, I don't think it's because they didn't have enough time to look at it. I think that their brain is in a position where it can't see it. It's filtering it out. That's how it's been designed. And I think I don't know how we fix that with people. How do we fix that problem?
I mean, it's a question here, of course, of how people process what they see. Critical, evaluation, whatever, what they call critical thinking. But you have, the phenomenon you described, where you've got a BBC camera person who's been going to work every day and pointing a camera at something every day. They still get the balance of their information about the world, which includes the context of what they're looking at through the media, which gets processed through this whole McGill. The ownership, the editorial policy, all of that, extremely tightly controlled. And resting upon whatever machinations those who own it intend to use it for, resting upon the largest data set in history of the universe, maybe. Then what they're looking at in real life, even if they're news people, and even if they've been reporting on news stories every day, is a minor, like an almost insignificant part of the whole, which they're looking at through the same machinery that the rest of us are looking at, even if they're plugged into it from the front end. And in fact, that can reify the effect of what they're looking at through the machine because they believe that there's a legitimacy to it because they're looking at a small piece of it themselves. But if you really look critically, for example, at some of the things that, as one of those folks, you point the camera at and then watch what it becomes out in the world, it gives, it tends to help decode the rest of it in a way. So anyway, this is not the central point here, although this is the phenomenon that we're dealing with to try to, tell people that you guys are at each other's throats, kind of on a, it's a lark, it's a mistake, and it's actually something intended to keep you in the situation you're in, so you don't try to solve the problems that you're experiencing.
Yeah. Well, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I think that there's a sense among people that support Trump that there is a shift in that paradigm. And there's something else, because last night we went to an event that was sponsored by the Center for Political Innovation, this Caleb Hoffman's group that I spoke there. Garland Nixon was there. Dr.
Wilmer Leon was there.
A number of people were there, and
cool.
It was an interesting evening, just in terms of hearing different people's perspectives on what we were all witnessing. But the thing that was more interesting to me was the way people were viewing what was happening themselves, not MAGA people at all, communists, leftists, people who have been working on some of this stuff, 50 years and more, talking about this as perhaps, we're standing on the precipice of, a new epoch. You have the changing geopolitical situation, with the rise of BRICS, the decline or dissipation or disintegration of the monopolar world, being at the brink of World War III or in it already, the huge changes in global economic condition, the rise of China, the rise of India, the whole expansion of BRICS and what that means for integrating an alternative global economic architecture, and the maturation of social and political values that, are the product not of 19th century ideas, and 20th century reality, but 21st century perspective on all of that, and apprehending the problems facing us in the 21st century and going forward towards the 22nd. People that are either immersed in political activism and academia, as well as ordinary workers and people in general, feel that the difficult, at this point, for many intolerable situation that they've been experiencing for decades, and in many cases longer, is about to change, for better or worse, and that they have an opportunity to put their hands on it and help guide it from where they are in one fashion or another. And they see this election as being, I won't necessarily, some see it as central, many do. All see it as an important component of this process. And so that's kind of an interesting environment to spend a week in, which is what I've pretty much done now.
Let's take a look at one of the interviews here, and this is the local, I think, this was from the same spot, right? The bar, the one area that you got the excited people. This is the vibe you're talking about. That something's happening. There's something in the air. To me, it feels kind of similar to that. There's something in the air back in 2008, 2009 with Obama. We felt something was happening. There was a momentum. It feels like it might have reversed a little. I want to talk about that maybe a little bit. Let's hear this interview you had here. I'll make sure the volume's up.
Okay, tell me your name and where you're from.
Yeah, Tim O'Neill, originally from Maine. I live in the D.C. area now.
So why are you in D.C. now?
Yeah, so I actually work on Capitol Hill.
So today's the victory rally, tomorrow the inauguration. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm very excited about it, and we're going to save America tomorrow. We've gone through 4 years of weaponization of the federal government and terrible policies, and we're finally going to have Trump back, and we're going to fix a lot of that.
Why do you think he would be able to do things that he says he wanted to do more this time than last time?
Yeah, I mean, I think just look at he's more popular now than he's ever been. He's got the House and the Senate. I know it's the majorities, but we also have Mike Johnson and John Thune who are going to be working hard to get his agenda passed. And I think the country's truly behind him. I think the country gave him a mandate on November 5th, and he's going to follow through on that.
Are you going to be here for the speech that is going to happen in a little while? Can we speak with you again after that?
Yeah, I'm hoping to be. I'm going to be here for the speech tonight, and tomorrow I don't know. Probably going to be home. It's going to be so cold. We're supposed to go to the speech, but I'm glad that he took care of his people and made sure it moved inside. But yeah, it's going to be a great day for America.
So we'll catch you after the speech today, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely, I'm happy to come back.
Thank you very much, Tim.
And I never did, by the way. I never did catch up with him.
Oh man, I there's something about that. I was just thinking about Obama. I was thinking back to 2009, and I was actually there in 2009 as well. We went to it was he mentioned how cold it was, and I remember being just freezing. January 2009, 16 years ago. There was something in the air then as well, and I remember feeling like, there was part of the country that was angry. They were furious. They had rage. They had confusion. They said this guy was not who he said he was, and he was going to do these horrible. He wasn't one of us. He's from an outsider coming in, and they were afraid. And we just kind of said, you know what? We're not going to worry about you. We're just going to enjoy this moment and really feel like that something big is going to happen. Of course, looking back, we were wrong. We were wrong to think that Obama was this hope and change. We were wrong. He was part of the same thing that he was supposed to be replacing. He was part of the same thing, and so that camp. I wish we had existed then. We didn't know. We didn't have what we have now. We didn't have the social media and Twitter. We didn't have the ability to look deeper into these things. But what we did have was we had a moment that was real, and we didn't worry about the other people in the country that seemed to be fueled with racism and hatred and fear. We just kind of ignored them and said, this is a real moment. Do you feel like that might be the reverse of what we're experiencing right now with the people that want this hope and change with Trump, and they feel that no matter what happens later, there is a moment, and they're kind of ignoring that rest of that we talked about earlier, the people living in fear and confusion and think that Trump is this Hitler thing. They're just ignoring that, and they're saying, no, we have a real moment happening here. Of course, you and I are in this third camp of being able to really look at it with critical thinking skills and say what's actually happening. But do you think in that sense of the thing, do you think there's been a kind of a reversal in these 16 years of the hope and change versus the dread and fear?
Well, a lot of this rests upon, I mean, you have the same problem with the source of information being, determining whether it's virtual or real. I mean, the bulk of it comes to us through virtual means anyway, and they're outside of our control and well within the hands of control of the people that these other political activities are intended to counter, out in the world, out in the political street, whatever. Barack Obama, distinguishing the Obama phenomenon from the Trump phenomenon, there are a few things. A constant, first of all, is the fact of an increasing sense of pauperization, of desperation, etc. The economy was in free fall. We were at a massive war again. If they had gotten away from Vietnam syndrome, it came in and sat on our head at that point. And so they were so desperate. I've heard enough people say now over the years, they were so desperate that they elected the black guy. That was unprecedented in the history of the country, as everyone knows, and was reminded if they had forgotten. But this particular black guy wasn't the Martin Luther King or Malcolm X, or Du Bois or Paul Robeson or others that have been produced by this country, but rather a guy from Kansas, raised in the Midwest, who was, fair-haired child of the system all the way through Harvard Law, and then just appeared out of nowhere as the Democratic presidential candidate, beating, the anointed queen, Hillary Clinton, in the primary. That was a bit suspicious all by itself. Who was this guy? They let him speak at the 2004 convention with a long line of people who wanted to and who had actual power in the party establishment in the way, and yet he emerged and he was presented in the media favorably all the way up to the moment he became the nominee. Donald Trump's treatment by the media, although very fawning up until about mid-2015, has been anything else since. And as a matter of fact, this treatment in this most recent campaign by the entire political establishment is unprecedented by far. There have never been criminal charges uttered against the presidential candidate before, let alone dozens of criminal convictions on ridiculous charges of paperwork violations from years ago after the statute's run, of no political or economic or other consequence whatsoever. The media, wall to wall, has been hostile since he first uttered words suggesting that NATO was obsolete back in 2015. So the question, however, for us isn't it clear then that Obama was not our guy, meaning the people, and that Trump is, or are we being shown a repeat of what we were shown in 2008? Obama is spent. The idea of let's have another member of the downtrodden classes rise up to lead us from this hellhole that we're in, which they tried to do with Harris, but they really had little maneuvering room after bungling the primaries with Biden. So they've had Trump as the bad boy, out here. But is that really what's going on, or is this whole thing some sort of media shit show? That's just something we have to parse and can't just assume one way or the other is it's this or that. And further, even if Trump believes and the people around him believe, or some believe, some don't, that they're following this track. History is marching down its own street, and everyone involved does everything to maintain their position, and you can't even call it opportunism. It's just, the method of operation, MO. If people think right now that, hi, I'm the new Obama, I'm going to look like the bad boy, of course I'm going to continue these policies that people oppose, but they're going to be busy defending me rather than opposing the policies that they should oppose, and so everything's great. It may well be that historical forces at work that are unprecedented, like our engagement in a war with Russia, could move events in a way that no one anticipates right now, including the major players. It's a dangerous time as far as all that goes.
Yeah. We're playing with fire on so many different levels, as you know. All the different World War III watches we have to cover every week on the show, how close we are to annihilation just because of what this last 4 years has done. Just pushing, escalating on so many different fronts, so many different nuclear wars that we're about to be in. So can Trump push us back a little on that? Yeah, possibly. But what you're saying, Don, we just have to keep a close eye on this every day and be open to the possibility that maybe incrementally there could be something done, or perhaps it's all a big show and we're not going to get one thing done. But either way we look at it, and the reason I go back to Obama is because I say we didn't know at the time that he was part of that thing, that we didn't know. We didn't have the WikiLeaks. We didn't know that he was putting the Citibank people right into his cabinet, that the email that had come in immediately on that next day, that he was just going to do that and not hold anyone accountable for all the stuff that Dick Cheney and Bush, and we thought he was going to do those things. But look, end of the day here, the moment still existed. We still showed up in droves and felt that something had happened. It ended up being a moment, not really a movement, but a moment in time, which I don't think they can take away from us, that we had that moment. So now I think it's fair to give the people that showed up there in droves, that said this guy's doing something important, regardless of the outcome, regardless of what happens tomorrow. It seems as if the moment has happened, so at least we can give them that and just enjoy this moment for what it is. And then the rest of us, you and me and others, our colleagues, our other friends, other shows that are covering this stuff, independent media, we will look at it every day and see how much of it was theater, how much of it is real, and give the honest take on it moving forward. But I don't think we can deny them that they got their moment, at least yesterday.
Well, first, one last bit of indulgence for me on 2008 campaign. You say that we didn't know, or we didn't know this or that. Of course, again, the question is, what do we actually know, or what do we think? And after the fact, I guess it's easier. But back in 2008, I was covering Cynthia McKinney's campaign. That was what I took upon myself to do. I traveled around the country beginning in December of 2007, a debate that was held in San Francisco, up to late October of 2008, where we were in Los Angeles and did a fundraiser with Roseanne Barr and some other things. And on the phone almost weekly, trying to pitch an interview on places like Democracy Now!, where I actually knew people, and other so-called progressive media, to try to get Cynthia's position out there, who at the time was on a boat to Gaza with supplies for children to try to break the blockade there, arrested and dragged to prison in Israel, Obama was talking about, only one president at a time. She was all over the world doing these different things out in the country. Huntsville prison in Texas, Alabama, where the hell it was, an execution, trying to stop an execution of a man who had an IQ, mid-50s or something. Real actual work, sitting on top of a career of 12 years in the Congress, doing real actual work, trying to force Pelosi to hold hearings in New Orleans, over Katrina, but the land being stolen from the people there. No one heard of Barack Obama in 2005 in New Orleans. All of the things that she did over 20 some odd years, there was no Barack Obama in sight. And so from where I was sitting, it was pretty goddamn easy to see who was for real and who was full of shit. And Barack Obama was obviously full of shit. Now, there are people that'll tell you right now, and I've had some personal experience myself over the years, that Donald Trump is also full of shit. And that any other politician who you're going to put up there, the bulk of them, there are very few like Dennis Kucinich and Cynthia McKinney and very, very few others I won't even mention in case they do something contrary today, that were for real, that put in the time and effort to do the work. In other words, that you could say, I trust them to do this. The stakes are so large and the things that are in motion now so powerful. And I think the stakes are really, really high in the eyes of the people who are in decision-making positions. I think the elite in the West understands that unless they change the course of history, pushing against the courses following, that their time is going to be up soon as the masters of the universe. Despite the fact that some people think they're going to be one of the leading billionaires at the time we colonize the solar system, or whatever other delusions any of them have. The real stake in this is what is going to happen here on this planet for us, as our labor is no longer necessary. Our role as consumers has been waning for decades, and the power of those sitting on top of it and the wealth have been increasing at an accelerated rate. We have a world being, it's seeping through our fingers and into the hands of a very small group of people. And we don't really have a concept of the whole of it, let alone a plan to change its course. And the political system is the place where we think the battle is, the electoral political system. And you can see that there are a lot of people involved in all sides that are focused on that. But is that what we're supposed to do? And if it is, how the hell do we get through this? I don't know the answer to any of these things.
Yeah.
These are the questions I wake up to every morning.
Yeah, and those are the right questions to be asking, Don. These last 24 do you have a few more minutes? Because I just want to ask your opinion on what we saw in the first series of hours. Really, they didn't even get to 24-hour mark, and Trump has already initiated, fast-tracked a bunch of stuff. The first thing we noticed right away was this. He took us, the United States officially withdrew from the WHO. This is a huge deal. So we saw this. Here it is.
Withdrawing from the World Health Organization, sir?
Ooh, that's a big one. So we paid $500 million to World Health when I was here, and I terminated it. China with 1.4 billion people. We have 350 to pay. We have, nobody knows what we have because so many people came in illegal, but let's say we have 325. They had 1.4 billion. They were paying 39 million, we were paying 500 million. It seemed a little unfair to me. So that wasn't the reason, but I dropped out. They offered me to come back for 39 million. In theory, it should be less than that, but and when Biden came back, they came back for 500 million. He knew that you could have come back for 39 million. They wanted us back so badly, so we'll see what happens. I would do it, yeah. I would do it.
Talking about the European Union and the tariffs, what do you mean when you say that European Union country make this part of BRICS?
That a what?
BRICS.
Oh, BRICS. No, I was talking about BRICS. BRICS is 6 nations. I think it's 7 nations.
Okay, so he fast-tracked that. He made it a financial reason. We actually, this is an interesting thing about Trump, is that he uses the business mind of, is it a good deal for us? That's how he kind of justifies these actions. I don't know if he's saying the entire reason, but the point is, we've been officially withdrawn from the WHO. I think that's a big step forward as far as our, what RFK Jr. has planned now that he's going to be hopefully confirmed as the head of the Health and Human Services. This happened immediately after. I want your take on that. And then this happened with what he calls the January 6th hostages being released. And he calls them hostages, what I think is kind of interesting, because the fact that we know that they weren't given proper due process during the judicial system for about 1,500, I believe. Let's see what happened there. This was last night.
In there, where we're doing further research. Nice to see you again. So this is a big one. Anything you want to explain about this? We hope they get them. We hope they come out tonight, frankly. They're expecting it. Approximately 1,500 people. Six commutations.
Were there any cases you did not commute or pardon people?
We're looking at different things, but the commutations would be the ones that we'll take a look, and maybe it'll stay that way.
1,500. Wow. So he set that in motion last night. What we're hearing word on the ground right now is that there's a lot of these prisons that are trying to stop these releases from happening, but he did this immediately. Did you see this coming, Don, that he's doing these things immediately? And there's a few other examples as well. I mean, he just went right to it. Does this look like something that might be moving us incrementally in the right direction? That he's going right to work immediately from taking the swearing in?
One of the problems that we have with our system of government, I used the word "R" very almost ironically, is that you have like a big man government rather than a different model. Let me give you an example. This is an extreme of the other. I was in Tripoli, Libya in 2008. Tripoli was the capital city of Libya that had a population at the time of about 2 million people, which is pretty much the same population as Manhattan, not New York City, but Manhattan. In an area fairly similar, although the intensity of the scale of development didn't have any feel like that at all. So Libya at the time was governed by a system called the Jamahiriya, which was a creature of the leader of the revolution, 1969, Muammar Gaddafi, and others in the country that had worked on developing the government from 69 forward. It was a form of self-government that my friend Bob Fitrakis, who teaches political science out in Columbus, Ohio, said and is of the proper age to make this comment, would please any advocate of socialist self-government in the SDS back in the 60s. It was almost like something out of the New Left playbook. So I'm living in Tripoli, and there's a school across the street from my house, and these maniacs drive through my neighborhood every day, 70 miles an hour. There's no speed limit, and these kids risk their lives every day crossing the street. I grab a bunch of my friends, and we go down to the municipal hall, Congress Hall, People's Congress Hall, down the block on Tuesday when they have the meeting, where whoever shows up is the government. And I make a pitch to the people who showed up that, look, the school is across the street from my house, it's kids, cars, crazy. We need a stop sign on either end of that block, and we need a speed limit imposed of 10 miles an hour and very severe penalties for violation. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Wednesday morning, there's an order that goes out to the traffic division. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, when they get to it soon, The signs go up on either end of it. Speed limit, stop signs. Laws changed. Guy gets pulled over in there, he's looking at 30 days or whatever they imposed. Following Tuesday, some guy who was going to work Monday and is used to zooming through there shows up, is stuck in the thing. It said he's late for work, calls his friends. They go down to the town hall on Tuesday night and they say, what is this crap? We can't do this. This city has to operate. Keep your kids safe some other way. All in favor, aye. All in favor, nay. 3 people from last week showed up, nay. The ayes carry it. Wednesday morning, the guys from DPW are out there taking the signs down. That's a model of government that involves everyone, as opposed to a model of government that involves one person or one small group of representatives. The reason that I'm mentioning the obvious is that, let's say the top 10 policy issues in front of the people are war, the size of the military, resources for education, resources for housing, resources for medical care, resources for financial stability, resources for agriculture, resources for water and sanitary sewer, resources for telecommunications infrastructure, and resources for transportation infrastructure. 10 items, each one severe policy implications for the people in the country. Let's say one guy has exactly the same policy positions as the other guy, with the exception of, let's have World War III. You know, that's the limited choice involved here is itself corrupting. And I don't necessarily mean in a sense of financial crookedness, but corrupting in terms of the ability to govern for self-government. We don't elect a variety of members of Congress, depending on the position on this or that. These are allocated by land, by territory, by jurisdiction. Not the legal jurisdiction, but by the political jurisdiction, subdivision. And so I got one guy going to Congress and 2 senators going to Congress that are going to be dealing with all of those issues. That is a fundamental problem in dealing with like a list of things that we have to deal with right now. So Trump comes out, of course, bull in the china closet, signing executive orders. That's his way. It's his charm in a way too. It's also his charm in the same way that snake charmers charm a snake. It's look at this. This is the shiny thing in the room, and it's what you'll be talking about as opposed to what I'm actually doing. There are some policies that were adopted, implemented. I would say implemented is more accurate. With respect to telecommunications, for example, the censoring of social media being a big one, the further consolidation of the legacy media, I guess you call it, the further alienation of the public from the microphone and camera, despite the dispersion of cameras and platforms like YouTube that allow people access. The management of the different algorithms by which these things are found by viewers has become more and more closely held. And so you have 1,000 voices, but only one gets to the ears of the people.
Right.
That being the one chosen again. This policy, we saw a couple of reversals with the immediate one with TikTok. It seems hugely significant, and it is if it were allowed to stand. And I think the important thing here that shouldn't be overlooked, and maybe it probably is the essential thing, is that even if these things that we are seeing being done turn out to be in and of themselves insignificant, the fact that they had to be done in response to the people's pressure, the people's demands, people's actions, whatever, is very significant. That's the thing to study and to try to draw lessons on how to do that more and better. And so talk about build back better. That would be the thing to build back on. How do we identify the issues of real interest, not what catches their eye, but what goes to the heart of what people's needs are, and force the political economy to deliver it, to force the political establishment and or those in power to deliver it. The question in front of us at a rather urgent moment, and I think Trump is an interesting player. I'm looking at the Associated Press newswire. If you'll indulge me, if I can find my glasses, there's a list of things that he did in these executive orders that are being pushed back. With a huge number of resources being applied to that. Between with respect to the birthright citizenship, for example, I don't know if people are familiar with what that is. The 14th Amendment, basically, Americans born in America are legally Americans, that they're citizens. It doesn't necessarily mean everything it sounds like it means. And the law has been ambivalent over the years. And it's been expanded, the understanding of what that means, so that you now have, if two people are here without documentation, two people are here illegally, and they have a baby here, it's been treated legally by the government as if the baby's American because they were on the soil. Trump is rolling that back by executive order, and I saw first 18 and then 20-something states are bringing lawsuits immediately, today, like within the first day of his administration. There's pushback on like a half a dozen of the other things that he's promised to do, including TikTok, by the way. You've got the Associated Press, not even the Washington Post or the New York Times or Rachel Maddow or Brzezinski and her husband, whatever that clown's name is. Not just those, but
Morning, Joe.
With a list of misspoken words yesterday, false statements made by Trump during the inauguration. That like the forces of opposition to whatever he plans to do are already assembled and filing papers, and so we're going to have that at the center of whatever he tries to do. Also,
there's going to be resistance the whole way. Anything he tries, they're going to resist. We already saw resistance to the J6 releases. I actually got this shot. Somebody filmed this at one of the prisons. That the actual jail guards and the prisons themselves are going to block the releases of some of these prisoners. Isn't that insane? Like immediately they're already saying no. Here, check this out.
So I'm outside of the DC Gulag, and there's now some Antifa here, and the cops are standing between us and some of these Antifa people. The guards are refusing to let the J6ers out. They have defied President Trump's pardon. The pardon says they're to be released immediately, and they've defied that. They know that the U.S. Marshal has been called, and I was told specifically by one Metropolitan Police officer, she doesn't care that the U.S. Marshals have been called. So we have a situation out here, and we could use some help, President Trump. Please send the U.S. Marshals immediately.
So, like you were saying about Morning Joe and his sidekick, the two of them, like they're going to anything Trump is signing right now in this like first 24, 48 hours, they're going to push back, tell their audience, whatever's left of their audience, they're going to tell them why what he's doing is either illegal or not accurate. and then they're going to be pushed back. So everything's going to get pushed back. None of these things are going to be easy, as we just saw there. Immediately, there's already pushback. That's what you're talking. Should we expect that with all of these things? Every single one of these, they're going to try and say, no, he can't do it. He can't do any of this. He's just because he's signing a thought, just because he's signing it doesn't mean it's real. That's it. Because it seems like Biden got to do anything he wanted, sign whatever, and there wasn't any pushback.
Biden's gone. And now what's going to be interesting is, essentially, as they sue Trump, particularly, let's look at the pardons. As everybody in the universe sues the Justice Department, which has unlimited resources, so an ability to learn and project power, certainly. As they go from jurisdiction to jurisdiction and develop legal theories by which they can thwart these pardons, what they're doing is showing Trump's Justice Department how to thwart the pardons of Hunter Biden, the Biden family, or all of the people that are listed in these various pardons of Biden's. If the power to pardon by the president is not absolute, and if these are the limitations of it, and the more rigidly they define them, you can cookie cutter apply them to each of the pardons issued by Biden. I think it's almost hilarious, except for the fact that you've got real people's lives here that are involved. In the case of people who've been over-sentenced, that Biden finally got around to pardoning, it was nice of him, given that a lot of them are in prison because of his activity as a legislator and as a demagogue. And also people like January 6th and others that are clearly political victims. And so each of the other points as well, where they're fighting back and forth, you've got the things that Biden did that Trump is going to undo. Biden did a lot of things as well by fiat, by executive order, administrative rule changes, and a whole lot of other crap that extrajudicial that everyone in Congress would vote for it, but they don't want to be on the record voting for it, so they're going to leave it alone if somebody else makes the thing happen.
So let's before I let you go, Don, there's one more I'm going to play. This was before the swearing in, and we got excited hearing this, but people are saying, no, he tried this the first 4 years and he didn't come through. But when we talk about declassifying things, right, it kind of gets me a little excited. Tell me, am I too over optimistic? But I want to play this is what he's saying right before he came in. What he plans to do with the JFK files, the RFK files, and Martin Luther King files. Check it out.
Step toward restoring transparency and accountability to government, we will also reverse the overclassification of government documents, and in the coming days, we are going to make public remaining records relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, his brother Robert Kennedy, as well as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and other topics of great public interest. It's all going to be released, Uncle Sam.
Don DeBAR, what are the chances that any of these three files get released to the public in the next 4 years?
Well, I mean, the question is, more complex than that, too. Mm-hmm. Let's say there's 3 boxes, in some dark closet in NSA or wherever the hell they keep this stuff, that include everything JFK, everything RFK, everything Martin Luther King. By the way, what about Malcolm X? Right. By the way, what about Fred Hampton? By the way, what about George Jackson and others? This country's littered with the bodies of political assassinations.
What about 9/11?
All of it, okay. But let's say these 3 boxes are on a shelf. The question is, what's left in the box? Is that missing piece of Jack Kennedy's brain, excuse the insensitivity, but is that in the box? Or has that been long buried? Is that, in a mist somewhere next to Patrice Lumumba? We don't know what evidence remains, certainly. And then, of course, how many hands have been on Bobby Kennedy's file since 1968? Just to make a little adjustment here, let it out here, let it in there, and take it a little more around the waist. So, assuming he is telling the truth for the sake of argument, and intends fully to release everything he's got, who knows how reflective what he's done is of the reality of the things that happen. And he doesn't know either, by the way. He may have a memo that supposedly details all that, but only a fool would say, well, then that must be it.
Well, like you said earlier, Don, we're just gonna have to take this day by day and look at it, as best we can with critical thinking skills, and not on team red or blue or any team at this point. Historical context is important, and seeing where, anticipating where things are going to go, but we can't take away the fact that people did arrive in DC. They had a moment. That moment belonged to them. You can't really take that moment away. But we can do the independent journalism that is needed, at which you do every day for us. You inspire the rest of us to do what we're doing, and keep chugging along, as we're gonna have to do through these next 4 years. And hope, fingers crossed, we make some sort of incremental change forward, and we don't, Trump doesn't lead us to total nuclear annihilation. Hopefully, since we were so close with Biden, we want to at least step back. Just one step back would be nice. So that's where we're at now. So thanks, Don. Anything else you want to leave us with before I let you go?
Matt, I appreciate it. And I appreciate the work you do, the work that all the folks out here doing this stuff are doing. And keep on doing it. If I can help, let me know.
Thank you, Don. Appreciate it. Look forward to having you back in the future. Thanks. All right, bye. Don DeBAR, everybody. Checking in from Washington, D.C. Moment of change, hope and change, and all that good stuff we just experienced. Very familiar to 2009 with Obama, hope and change. So here we are. Who knows what's going to happen next, guys? But there was one more I'm going to share about Trump, because we did see another thing he did. This was kind of exciting for the COVID mandate situation. He did do this. Anybody who worked for the federal government of any sort that lost their job due to refusing the vaccine, he went ahead and did this.
I will reinstate any service members who were unjustly expelled from our military for objecting to the COVID vaccine mandate with full back pay.
Full back pay. Wait, who's not standing? I want to know who's not standing for this. If you're in that room right now and half the room stood up, half the room is sitting down. They don't think they should be reinstated. They don't think servicemen, I guess he said specifically service members, should not be reinstated if they're not up to date on their vax. How is this not a no-brainer? And why would, nobody on Biden's team considered the history would look back on this and say, this is a no-brainer. You give people back their jobs. They're not a danger to society. This was not a pandemic of the unvaccinated, as Biden once famously said. This is a no-brainer. So if you're not standing, I don't know. I'm imagining being in that room right now and deliberately staying in your chair while half the room stands. It says, yes, give them their jobs back.
And I will sign an order to stop our warriors from being subjected to radical political theories and social experiments while on duty. It's going to end immediately.
Well, I hope that extends to the working folks that aren't service members or working for the federal government. I hope we can extend that to anybody in this country that should not be used as an experiment and forced to do something against their will and against their informed consent. Are you kidding me? Not to mention private records of your medical history should be also private. So there's a lot more to go on that part, but wow, it's just nice to see that happen right off the bat. Good start there in the medical freedom movement, getting step forward here. I hope we have more of those little mini celebrations that we're gonna have hopefully in the next sooner than later. Okay, taking a 2-minute break here. I'll be back with some more stories for you guys. We got more content for you. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back. We are back with some more show for you guys. Let me get to a couple of the comments here because you guys have been pretty awesome through that conversation with Don DeBAR, covering the inauguration, covering all the happenings in the last 24 hours. Really, really appreciate coverage from Don and your guys' engagement. Let's see here. Yes. Jokers for you. Thanks for this. This false optimism Trump is offering is a bait and switch. Trump is a controlled demolition manager, not a wealth creator. Can't argue with that. Can't argue with that, jokers for you. We understand that the showmanship of Trump, and as a reality star, a reality game show host, #1 in NBC at one point, as far as reality shows go. Yeah, he was #1. Best friends with all those people, Oprah and The View and Lorne Michaels, SNL, the whole thing. So we know what he's capable of as far as showmanship and the bait and switch. He can certainly do that. He's got very similar skills to Obama in the sense that he knows how to put that face forward and get his base excited. Yeah, we might not see much movement at all, other than these little moments, little showmanship moments. Let's see a couple other these. You guys did some really cool stuff. Yeah, you know what, Robert Forrest? Yeah, Obama was totally full of shit. He was, but we still had our moment. We still had our moment of hope and change, and yeah, all that stuff. It happened. You know, people gathered from all over the world, all over the country at least. They all came together in Denver when he, you know, that first black president being a nominee for the party that was in Denver of 08, in August of 08. Then everyone joined in DC, cold January 16 years ago. They said, this is the moment we've never thought we'd see in our lifetime. But yeah, at the end of the day, he was totally full of shit because the next day, the email we know from WikiLeaks, we know from Julian Assange, the email that came into Obama, first order of business, assign all these people from Citigroup into your cabinet immediately. Every single one of them was from Citigroup. Who got him in there? That was his. We got you in. That's a quid pro quo. We got you in. You hook us up. Too big to fail. Now you kick 5.4 million people out of their houses while the banks buy up all the property. So Obama did that. That's the first thing he did. Did he codify Roe v. Wade? No. Did he hold Bush and Cheney and the Halliburton gang? Did he hold them accountable for war crimes? No. Did he end Iraq, Afghanistan? No. Did he start 5 more wars? Yeah, he did that. 5 more wars. So yeah, we know the drill, guys. So with that, let's see if I get a couple more. Yeah, we caught ChatterX. You caught it before we said it. You said the Fauci's connection to the biolabs in Ukraine. Exactly. That's why we made that connection immediately. Important to see that the mainstream media is not covering it. Mainstream media is not going to tell you the timeline. Not going to tell you that Hunter Biden and Fauci both got these pardons that go back to January of 2014. They're not going to tell you the timeline. 11 years. That's a random number. Why would you get 11 years? Well, we know why. Yes. You know what? I'm going to throw this up from Leslie. This is I wrote an insightful post on Facebook. People here in LA, they are still coming after you with these simplistic ideas of, felon rapist. I mean, it's like, what? Okay, great. Good take. What else do you have? Come on, people. What else do you have? That's the extent of your analysis. As Leslie says, tell us something we haven't heard. Thanks for that. Exactly. Yes. Joke is for you. There's some others in here. We'll get to some of you guys others later, but we want to talk about some fake news stuff. You guys want to do some fake news? Some real fake news. How about we do that? How about we do a little real fake news update? I think it's time. Here we go. It's time for our real fake news update. Not brought to you by Pfizer. Let's look at the ceasefire. Let's look at how that's going. How is that ceasefire going? It's funny. We seem to have a little problem here because you got MSNBC reporting on it. Let's see what they say. Remember, this is the deal that Biden took credit for. That the envoy, the Trump's envoy, went to meet with Netanyahu and forced Netanyahu into a ceasefire deal. This means that Hamas is going to release 3 hostages, while Israel's going to release, as MSNBC calls, 90 prisoners. It's funny, they're prisoners, and the Hamas is holding on to hostages. So it's 90-3. Interesting. I wonder how MSNBC is covering it. Let's see.
With live pictures from the occupied West Bank, where we have just learned that Israel has released 90 Palestinian detainees as part of the ceasefire that took effect today. And this comes as we are seeing something we haven't seen in Gaza in a very long time. Some relief and a little joy. Social media feeds are filled with images of Palestinians crying tears of joy and relief. Even though many are returning to wreckage, they're finally able to safely make the journey back to what was once their homes and their towns and villages.
Joy. I love that. Joy. What's a familiar word? Where have we heard that before? That's interesting. Now, look, the Palestinian people in the streets, that's real emotion. We covered that on the last week's show. That's real emotion. The problem with the news coverage of this is that, you guys can go through, tape after tape, try to find somebody on any of the mainstream media channels telling you the conditions of this exchange. First of all, they're calling them prisoners. Number one, they're not prisoners. They are hostages, 90 hostages. And they're not going to tell you that those 90 hostages have been there for years. This is way before October 7th. And the way they've been tortured, malnutritioned. And they're also not going to tell you that they are mostly women and children, because I'm seeing that they were all women and children. The 90 that they released. These are hostages. They're not prisoners. They're not detainees. They're hostages. They have not gone through a trial. They've not gone through any sort of due justice system. They are most of the children are children. They're not even 18. They're children being held hostage. 90-3. Why is it 90-3? It's actually getting a lot of the Zionists pissed off, because they're like, why do we only get 3 and we have to give you 90? Well, because you have thousands of Palestinians as hostages, thousands of them, mostly women and children. So let's look closer at what actually happened here. Well, we knew it wasn't going to last. We knew this was going to happen. CNN conveniently leaving out, that's what we said, conveniently leaving out the fact that they were Palestinian prisoners who are actually women and children, mostly under administrative detention without charges. Without charges. They also want to point out the good. Okay, so we got to point this out too. The good health of the 3 Israelis before they spin the narrative. So those 3 were in great shape. The ones that are being let out of Israel are in a horrible shape. Horrible. They are malnutrition. They look like they're about ready to die. There was another condition given. The hostages that Israel was holding that let them back in to Gaza were not allowed to celebrate. So the hostages and their families, the families were threatened. You were not allowed to celebrate. So the shots that CNN and MSNBC are doing of the Palestinians in the streets celebrating, those are not the hostages themselves and the family members of those 90. Their condition was they had to keep their effing mouths shut. That was their condition. So MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, especially not Fox News, none of them are going to tell you any of this. And now we find out today, breaking, IDF attacks the West Bank. Wow. So the 90 that they were forced to let go, with massive conditions on the letting those go, funny that they seemed the need to immediately replace them. 107 killed or wounded in the West Bank. 3 hours. in 3 hours. They're calling it Operation Iron Wall. That's insane. So nine people killed, we know for a fact, 98 injured within 3 hours. This is right after they released the 90 hostages. According to Adam, the same day they released the 90 Palestinians, they've abducted 60. So they stormed a mosque in the West Bank and they took 60. So they just replaced the 90 with 60 and they murdered some and injured a bunch as well. This is disgusting. Zionist Israel deserves to be dismantled. This is what they do when we give them a chance. Fuck Israel. And here's a shot of it shared by Adam. You guys can check this. This is real. This is not going to be covered on MSNBC. They're too busy telling us what a great deal that Biden made, by the way. They love that part. No, Trump made the deal. Now, in fairness, Trump didn't go and give a big speech. I just did this deal. It was a great deal. He didn't do it. But you know who is giving him the credit? Israel is giving him the credit. Well, Netanyahu, he was deliberate in giving credit to both administrations because he knows that both administrations, the Republicans, the Democrats, every single one in Congress, every single elected official or selected official, I should say, in our country, in our Congress, in Washington, D.C., kisses his freaking ass. Every single one of it. You know how we know? Because he knows that we know, and he's going to tell us. Here we go.
Elected, Trump was completely committed to the release of the hostages. We spoke on Wednesday. He congratulated me on the agreement, and he emphasized, and rightly so, that the first stage is a temporary ceasefire. This is what he said, a temporary ceasefire. Towards the next stages of the agreement, we are holding on to some significant assets so that we can bring back all of the hostages and in order to accomplish all the goals of the war. Both President Trump and President Biden have provided full backing to Israel's right to resume fighting, to resume combat if Israel reaches the conclusion that the negotiations over the second stage are pointless.
Holy crap. Did he just say if the negotiations over the second stage, so we've done the exchange. So I just want to get the order of happenings. He's giving both administrations full credit for getting Israel's back. The first stage has been completed. You have 90 women and children that were held malnutrition, held under the most horrible conditions in Israel, let back just in time to take 60 new hostages from a mosque and murder nine more, plus injuring over 100 and something more injured in the West Bank. So that happened. And now he's suggesting that the second stage might not be negotiated appropriately, whereby Israel would have to go back to business as usual. That's literally what he's saying. We'll have to go back to what we were doing before the negotiation, before the first stage, where you gave us 3 hostages. Well, I mean, okay. And you guys did a little swap out of 90 and 60. Okay. So the second negotiation stage might not work. I wonder if it's gonna fail. I wonder. No, we know it's gonna fail. That's what he's telling us. He's telling us that preemptively, and then thanking both teams, Biden and Trump, for equal participation in always getting Israel's back. Anything Israel wants to do, it's just a matter of how you spin it, how you sell it to the public. And unfortunately, all the people that are celebrating this deal, it's not a deal. It's bullshit, guys. This ceasefire is theater. It's all theater. A couple more things from him, and then I gotta give you an update on Trump because it gets even worse.
I truly appreciate that. I also appreciate the decision of President Trump to lift all the remaining restrictions on the providing of essential munitions and weapons to the state of Israel. If we need to resume combat, we will do so in new ways, and we will do so with tremendous force.
Holy crap, tremendous force. So he's thanking Trump for it's a gift pack. A gift bag. This is we reported this on Thursday through Hotspot. a gift bag of benefits, retroactively relieving any sort of responsibility from Israel. They can do whatever they want, anything they want. The IDF soldiers who have committed war crimes are alleviated of any sort of liability there. So this gift bag of benefits, which came from Trump. Again, Trump didn't go, I'll give him credit. He didn't go on TV and celebrate this right before the inauguration, because he could have made a speech and said, Biden's a piece of crap. Biden's lying. We all saw Biden take full credit for this. Trump didn't do it. But Netanyahu is telling us it's both sides were equally helpful in Israel doing whatever the hell they want. Yet again, this happens all the time. By the way, guys, this happens every change of power. This happens. It happened when Obama came in. All of a sudden, Israel backed out of Palestine. That happened. Oh, look at that. Obama just getting the Nobel Peace Prize just in time for his inauguration. So Israel works in coordination with the 4-year schedule that we're on. 4 to 8 year schedule we're on. It's switching up power, making it look like a changing of the guard when it's the same thing every freaking time. Israel first, America last. I wouldn't even say second. It's America last. Add fuel, add salt on a wound as Trump's going through each of his executive orders. Yesterday, he got to this one, and this one is hard to watch. I have to say, look, any of you guys you love the art of the deal, you love that Trump looks at everything as a businessman. This is cruel. This is cruel. You're going to start talking about Gaza as a business plan, devoid of any humanity. This is exactly Trump's language. No one else's. Not a spin from the fake news. This is Trump's language. The only thing fake about it is that MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News is not going to cover this part, because this is the most important part. This is the serious part. Check it out.
Mr. President, that you can keep the ceasefire in Gaza and conclude the 3 phases of this deal.
I'm not confident. That's not our war, it's their war, but I'm not confident, but I think they're very weakened on the other side.
Do you support the 2-state
Gaza, boy, I looked at a picture of Gaza. Gaza is like a massive demolition site. That place it's really got to be rebuilt in a different way.
It's got to be rebuilt in a different way. Demolition site, void of humanity, dude. Void of humanity. All you Trumpers out there, pay attention to his language. What is he talking about? Sounds to me like a land grab. Let's hear a little more.
To help rebuilding Gaza?
My mind. You know, Gaza is interesting. It's a phenomenal location. On the sea, best weather. You know, everything's good. It's like some beautiful things could be done with it, but it's very interesting. But some fantastic things could be done with Gaza.
How do you see the future in governance for Gaza?
Well, it depends. I can't imagine you could have, well, you certainly can't have the people that were there. Most of them are dead.
Most of them are dead. This is what the media should be covering. This. No. Instead, they're too busy whining about Elon Musk is a Nazi. Oh yeah, you guys saw this one. I'll just throw this up so you guys can see it. This is ridiculous. This is their story. This is their big concern. Elon Musk is a Nazi. No concern that this guy, that Trump is talking about a land grab in Gaza after Biden and Harris funded the genocide. They're collaborating, working together on annihilating the Palestinian people, rebuilding it, taking what a beautiful place. Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't mention the oil. Why didn't you mention the oil? Just northern Gaza oil. Oh my God. $1 billion deal there. That's a deal. Take the deal, man. The art of the deal. It's right there. But instead, the mainstream media is telling us about celebrations in the street, giving Biden a farewell of, oh, Biden, you pulled off an amazing deal. Everyone's celebrating. Meanwhile, the West Bank is getting annihilated. They just took 60 more hostages from a mosque in the West Bank. And these Palestinians are about to get clobbered by a real estate deal that Trump's going to push and initiate. And he says, there's nobody alive there anyway. They're all dead. It's what else are you going to do? I guess we got to rebuild. Bring in BlackRock. Come on, guys. You know the drill. Come on, you know the drill. We've seen it in Lahaina, North Carolina, California. We're doing it right now in California. Bring in BlackRock. Come on, guys, let's do it, right? And meanwhile, this is what you see on MSNBC. This is their big problem, is Elon, idiot Musk, putting his hand out, because no one's ever done that before, right? Right? No one's ever done the accidental Nazi salute. Or maybe they have. I just missed it. Oh! Accidental. Does the media cover these guys the same way? No. Come on. We know. Distractions, guys. Distractions. Oh, and then we saw this. This is the real one. This is the one that should be over every news organization should be reporting this one. Because if you didn't think Hitler was here by now, this should be the tipping point for you. Get on board, Team Hitler. Team Hitler is coming to office. There's no question. Look at him sipping that water, just like Hitler. Look at him with the thumb up, just like Hitler. Look at him on a phone call, just like Hitler. Wow. I think they got him. This is the kind of news we want. Right, guys? Real fake news. And that's a real fake news update. Okay, guys. We have a story we're going to do right now on Cori Bush. I like this one. This is for all you vote blue no matter who's, all you people who think you're anti-war, but you stuck it out. You stuck it out with the blues, thinking we're anti-war, falling for Bernie's BS, telling us we're taking on the military industrial complex. I'm working closely with the squad. We're all about anti-war. Really? You're all about anti-war, huh? Bernie, AOC, the squad. You guys remember Cori Bush? She was on the squad until they got her out. I think AIPAC actually got rid of her. A little too vocal about Israel, which, give her that. But what the hell happened with Ukraine? How the hell did Bernie and the squad get Ukraine so wrong? On purpose? Or were they fooled? Were they that idiotic? We understand that regular Americans, and we get it. I don't mean to be so mad at you guys. It's a little more, as Caitlin Johnstone says, Ukraine's a little harder to understand than Palestine. A little harder. You can't see it. You're not seeing a genocide happen in real time. You're actually seeing Ukrainians getting slaughtered, and you think, oh, we need to give them more money because now we have 600,000 or more Ukrainians dead from our money. It's a little harder to see it. But if you're an elected official, if you're on the squad, you ran on anti-war, you took money for anti-war, you took votes for anti-war, like Cori Bush, you better have a good explanation of why you participated and fueled this upward transfer of wealth of billions of dollars that went to warmongers' pockets. The whole time, did you know it was bullshit? Did you know it was a proxy war? Well, Michael Tracey had a chance to catch up with former Congressman Cori Bush at none other than a peace conference of all things. You can't make this stuff up, guys. You can't make this stuff up. Let's watch a little of this and the genius work of Michael Tracey. Check it out.
Your speech earlier at this event that we're at, the Peace Ball, we want to basically advocating for a general movement of peace. I'm wondering how you relate that to the issue of Ukraine, because it seems like the Democrats in Congress were almost virtually united, actually 100% united in funding Ukraine, which, whether you like it or not, that does involve sending a giant amount of munitions and weapons and armaments into a hugely destructive war where you have hundreds of thousands of casualties, Russians and Ukrainians piling up in the battlefield. And the only criticism was coming from a section of Republicans. So is there any contradiction, do you think, in terms of you calling for peace or Democrats calling for peace and not being willing to at all reevaluate the policy on Ukraine, which has really been extremely catastrophic? It's It's some of the most brutal warfare since World War I, like 100 years ago. And Democrats, from my perspective, just to be honest with you, have been very missing in action in kind of critically evaluating that policy and just going along with it, whatever the Biden-Harris administration wanted in terms of weapons. Really, what about diplomacy? What about some other option?
Before she speaks, just watch her thinking. She's like, okay, I'm in this conversation. I can't walk away. He's being very thoughtful in his questioning. Look at her trying to figure out how to answer this question. She's kind of stuck in. And kudos to Michael Tracey for setting this up so brilliantly. And she's all in. She's got to respond. Let's see what happens.
Rather than just dumping endless weapons into Ukraine, is that fair? Do you think?
I think the other part of that, though, is the threat of U.S. troops by the masses moving to the ground was a very real thing. At least that's how it was presented. It had been presented to us.
Did she just say the threat? Oh, was this a threat by Putin or a threat by Biden? She might be making a little word salad service for two or one, whatever, making it for herself. Self-serve word salad on its way, being prepared right now. Okay, let's see what comes next.
Congress, and for me,
presented by who?
Presented by the administration. That that would be a very real thing. So did we want to keep U.S. troops from having to go?
Wait. I'm sorry. Did she just say presenting the threat of U.S. troops going was presented by the administration? Therefore, in other words, the Biden administration threatened that U.S. troops would have to be deployed to Ukraine if we didn't send billions of dollars there, so Ukraine could have its own people die instead of us, which is by definition is a proxy war, which we told Bernie, we told the squad, we told you mother effers what you were doing. You said, no, but you're telling us you were threatened by this, by Biden. Holy crap. How are you going to get out of this one?
To Ukraine, so that was the thing that people were weighing.
So the White House presented, just to clarify, the Biden White House presented the issue to you as if you don't supply the weapons that they say are required, that could involve, that might mean that U.S. troops would have to go into the combat?
If we don't, not saying that if we don't supply the weapons, it was if you all don't support these bills, then that could be the outcome.
It is what you're saying. It's exactly what you're saying. Take some of that water, Michael. You're going to need it. You're going. This is great. Good. I love this. Great job, Michael Tracey.
And so for many, and I can't speak for everyone, but the question, when I look at my own district, and I think about those who often are the ones who end up with the least amount of help, the least amount of services, often don't have what they need when they return back. I wanted to support my community in that. So that's what that was about, making sure that we weren't sending the black and brown bodies to go and do this bidding and then using the money and the resources to go and do that. I can't speak for everyone, but I know that was what some people were thinking. And so I can't speak for everyone. I didn't have those conversations, but that was just a very real thing. So
I want to clarify one thing on that. Sorry, I forgot to put my microphone in my face.
You got it.
Your thinking at the time, when these appropriations bills came forward in terms of arms for Ukraine, was that by approving arms for Ukraine, you were lessening the likelihood that, as you put it, black and brown, soldiers or people that had joined the military would end up getting deployed to Ukraine? So that's how the administration framed it. So I assume that, through no fault of your own, you're not somebody who spent a whole lot of time probably focused on the issue of Ukraine over the course of your career. You have other interests mostly, right? And so they presented it to you, or your interpretation was that by providing those munitions, you were basically saving or No. Okay. So
No. It wasn't providing munitions. It was supporting these bills,
which provide munitions. You idiot. What are you saying? You keep saying no, and then you keep saying the thing he just clarified that you're saying. This is really bad. This is really bad, Cori Bush. If you weren't a former rep at this point, you certainly would be after this interview. But you're already a former congressman. So why are you defending this? Why don't you just admit it? Oh my God. Well, you are admitting it. She is admitting it. But saying, no, I'm not really saying it. No, but you are. But you are.
These bills to hold off Russia, supporting these bills, was there funding for
munitions?
It was for what
Yes.
the funding was for. This was a way to stop us from sending U.S. troops who, for me, what I was already dealing with in my district were mostly black and brown and marginalized folks that we were trying to help. It was to stop that from being the next occurrence. That's what that was.
But those bills provided munitions.
But though with the comment, I've given you a lot of time, and so and for
Here
you to
we
turn
go.
this into a Ukraine thing was not, So I.
Oh, he turned it into a Ukraine thing. He did. I thought you guys were excited about Ukraine. I thought you championed it. You should be proud if someone brings up your record, Cori Bush. What when you turn it into a Ukraine thing? I would love somebody to be interviewing me and turn whatever topic that I'm proud of that I did, maybe a project I did here in LA or a movie, and you're gonna turn it into a thing that I championed. You turn it into that. I would love you to turn it into something that I'm proud of. Aren't you proud, Cori Bush? Aren't you proud of tricking the American people and tricking the anti-war movement and the Bernies and the AOCs and all the people that gave money to this to say we're going to be against the military industrial complex. We're going to be against the war machine. You tricked them into supporting billions of dollars that went into weapons, which ended up the Ukrainians end up dying anyways. There was no way to beat Putin. We said this from the beginning. There was no way you're going to win this war. We said it from the whole way. We said it the whole way. Let's see how this thing ends.
I'm trying to answer your question.
I'm trying to be. I'm trying to be respectful, honestly.
Yeah.
I just thought that Ukraine was relevant, given that we're at the peace ball, and that's another conflict going on. You don't think so?
You're at a peace ball. Of course it's relevant. Of course it's relevant. You're literally at a peace ball.
No, absolutely. What I'm saying is that you keep asking question after question after question. I only answered 2 questions with everybody else. I gave you 6.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
So
All right. Well, I appreciate either way. I didn't mean to be rude at all.
You weren't being rude. You took the opportunity to just.
I did.
You took the opportunity to make me look like a complete idiot. And as Jokers for You says, she didn't realize Cori Bush was a stand-up comedian. It's making her look like a stand-up comedian at best, but more of an idiot. I'd say just more of a complete idiot and a sucker who fell for something she's now embarrassed by. So she's going to make the interviewer feel, Michael Tracey, it's his fault. He was only supposed to get 2. Everyone else got 2 questions. Michael Tracey got 6 questions. Oh, wow. Why would you take advantage of that like that, Michael Tracey? Why didn't you ask her about what life was like not in Congress anymore? And what are you even doing at this peace ball? Are you allowed to go to a peace ball now that you're not actively sending money to war and weapons and murdering people and occupying and genocides and all that stuff? The Democratic Party is no longer the party of anti-war. No longer. There was a time it was, at least a momentary time, when we were younger, 25 years ago, fighting against Bush and Cheney, the Halliburton, the illegal invasion of Iraq, Afghanistan, illegal torture programs, the Patriot Act, all those things. We fought against that as lefties, anti-war lefties. And now the right has kind of done a little better. But the reality is, guys, there is no anti-war party. There is no pro-worker party. There's no party that are for these values anymore. Trump might do a few things for us, but at the end of the day, it's not like the Republicans have donned the cape and the helmet of we are anti-war. They're cheering on Israel still. You got the Israel flag up right behind Trump for that inauguration yesterday. So it's not like they're doing much better, but at least a lot of them could see that Ukraine was bullshit. They could see it, and it was. And Cori Bush knows it was too. Okay, that's it for that segment. I got one more story for you guys before we head out. One more story. Let's go for it. We're gonna do HOLLYWOKE. We're gonna do HOLLYWOKE. This is a fun one. Yeah, this is a good one to end on, guys. We're gonna do a little HOLLYWOKE. I got a little Dave Chappelle coverage. Those of you who saw Dave Chappelle, saw some clips. We're gonna break down what he did on Saturday Night Live. Let me cue it up, and we're gonna do a little HOLLYWOKE. Here we go. Give me 1 second here. Here we go. Okay. Let's do it. Here we go. Hello, everyone. It's time for This Week in HOLLYWOKE. Generally, HOLLYWOKE is about the insufferability of this town where we're here, the homeless left resides, and all of the fake ass scripts and theater, and from the Robert De Niro's to the Ellen DeGeneres's, a lot of them have been driven out of the town now. So the House of Cards here in Hollywood, for P. Diddy, everything's falling apart. But there's some heroes, some champions that counter that movement and still have a voice, have not been ran out of town. At one point Dave Chappelle was run out of town 20 years ago. He came back and for some reason got these Netflix deals, and for some reason is still cool with Lorne Michaels over at SNL, and was asked to be the host this last week. And we're going to hear a little bit of what he did on that stage. But it's a real lesson in what we call comedy activism. So take note of Dave Chappelle, comedy activism, knowing your audience. You have to know your audience. You can't just come up on stage and, attack or say things that's going to turn them off. You gotta work them in. So let's see how Dave Chappelle works them in before he goes in for the kill. And what he's talking about is being critical of Trump in a thoughtful way, in a way that you can actually talk to him and not wave your arms around and pretend it's Hitler. When he's a guy who actually is taking office, is in office. This was Saturday night. So this is a couple days ago, right before the inauguration. So this was a good moment for Dave to speak directly to Trump through the audience. As we know, is a shit lib audience. We call them. It's in New York, but it's still a HOLLYWOKE audience. So let's see how Dave is able to bring them along a little bit in his comedy bit, which he starts off geniusly on a stool, and he actually ends up with the world's record in the however many 75 years. It's not 75. It's like 50 years. 50 years of SNL. Sorry, I got that one wrong. 50 years of SNL, and this is the longest opening monologue ever recorded. But congratulations, kudos to Dave Chappelle and how he used his time. Here, let's check out some of it. I love this. So this is master. This is theater, guys. So by the way, you're allowed to smoke on stage if you consider what you're doing is theater. That's the little loophole. So he knew that right away, and he grabs a stool. Let's hear. See, that's relatable. That's relatable. Good opening joke. So he's going over that in advance. He's like, how do I get them that first laugh? Relatable to anyone, even a psychopath woke shit lib who thinks Trump is about to end the planet can laugh at that joke. Great job, Dave. That's a profound line. I would sit on that one, guys. They can't see past their own pain. I'd sit on that for a little bit if I were you. Just take some time with that one. Take some time with that one. Pretty profound. This is the master class. I'll put this back up. This is his master class in comedy activism, because he's able to draw these things together that we've been having a really hard time with here in LA. We've been having a hard time having these conversations about what's happened to our city. A lot of people saying, you guys have been watching, you've seen we've done a lot of coverage on the ground. We've gone to Altadena. We've gone to the Palisades, to Westwood. We've talked to survivors. We've been reporting on all sorts of shows and telling of the experiences, and you got so many factors. You got the climate change people over here, but you got the arson stuff, which I think what he's alluding to is that it's not enough to say it's climate change. He didn't even say the word climate change, which is it's good. He's a really genius job here, connecting everything together and saying you could be in this camp of climate change, you can be in this camp of arson, but it's not. He's saying it's not enough, and he used the word conspiracy theory. I don't really like when people do that, but he's doing it in comedy. I think it's funny. You can do that and then tie it all together and then tell a religious joke about how God must hate us. What he's really saying, but not saying, is that there's more going on here, that there's more deliberate action. So he's using God as the punchline, as God hates us here in LA. He set all that up with the elite element of that we have more expensive stuff here, and there's a disconnect here versus the rest of the country. So we got everybody on board with all those laughs, lead it up, punched it with the God joke. But what he's really saying is there is something definitely deliberate in the air here, definitely deliberate. And so are we allowed to talk about this in a real conversation? A lot of people say no. Are you allowed to do comedy about it? Maybe comedy is the safest way to get people thinking, because you get them laughing, you get them thinking. So I'm going to, because this is, again, I told you guys this was the longest opening monologue in the 50 years of SNL. We're not going to play the whole thing, but I do recommend you guys go and watch the whole thing. But I'm going to cut to the end because this is important. Dave Chappelle, as you guys know, Dave Chappelle, if you're fans of Dave Chappelle, you know that he always ties things up at the end. So we're going to see how he does that. He brings it back to Trump and the reference to the Palisades and the reference to Palestine. It's poetic. It's genius. He's talking right to the camera. I'm going to start it from here. About a minute left of this. So let's watch it, and you guys will see what I'm talking about, and then we'll do some final thoughts on it. Here we go. Mic drop. Mic drop. I love how he says, "Thank you very much and good night." Like that's it. That's the show. That's it. You guys can go home now, dude. That's the extent of the substance you're going to get tonight in the next hour and a half. There's some sketches and there's some stupid shit we put together. Whatever. He said, "Thank you and good night." Mic drop right there, right on the opening. Longest monologue. I think it ran 16 minutes and change. No one's done that long. No one's captured that audience there in 50 years like Dave Chappelle did right there. And he said, empathy. Have empathy. Whether it's the Palisades or Palestine. Masterclass. Masterclass in comedy activism. Love it. Love it. Good job, Dave Chappelle. And yeah, we had a few guys too as well. Yeah, thank you, Jokers, for you. Dave showed more humanity in this monologue than any of our leaders, politicians have. 100% agree with that. Thank you for that, Jokers, for you. Okay, that should about do it. I wanted to circle back. We'll do this because we got a great show planned for you guys on Thursday. Some guests we're working on getting. We can't really announce everything just yet. I think we might have Craig back on with us. He's been dealing with some stuff, working out some scheduling, so we weren't able to have Craig on with us today. But we will have Jay Scott back with us for sure on Thursday, so that we can say for sure. Let's see. There was one more thing I wanted to mention. Oh yeah, this is kind of cool. You guys know that the AI situation, and we don't really fully trust Elon with the AI stuff. However, this when we went to our Twitter, or at least mine, I don't know if this was working for Homeless Left Twitter because it's still very new, but I've had my Twitter for several years now, and so we built up a little bit, and it did kind of this weird AI thing, and I thought I'd share with you guys because it's kind of badass. Actually, it is kind of badass. I wasn't expecting this. I hate AI. I hate ChatGPT, all that shit. It's going to take over Hollywood. It's going to take over all of our industries. They're all one by one. They're all going to go. Elon champions this stuff. This computer takeover. It kind of sucks. However, I did see AI did a summary of me on X and kind of came up with this on its own non-human take. A non-human take on what I and this show has been doing. Let's see this. This is what, again, this is all non-human. Matt, when you want to know what is Matt Weinglass doing with Homeless Left, this is what a computer tells us. This is what AI tells us. Matt's been diving into censored news, LA fires, and political commentary with a dash of humor on Biden's climate change gaffe. Matt has been recognized for his work on the Homeless Left with iHeart Minnie. That's Mindy Robinson. She shared us out a bunch. We appreciate that. And discussing political failures. And Daniel McAdams praising the show's focus on stopping war. I did not know that was happening. I did not know the praise from the show from Daniel McAdams. And then this is just a sample of something when I tweeted out about about Biden making the gaffe about whether or not it might have looked a little weird, a little suspicious when he came here to LA, and the fires looked a little suspicious to him. So I did a little thing there. So if however they did that, I would recommend you guys can go try it out on you. See what Twitter AI has to say about you. But it was kind of nice to see that that somewhere in the AI Twitterverse, there's some sort of messaging that we're making some sort of impact, if not with humans, with non-humans, but we're making some sort of impact nonetheless. Okay. With that, we will be covering more of the TikTok versus Red Note story next show as well. So on the way out today, what I'm going to do is I tagged you guys. This was a very, very heartfelt story told by a Chinese girl on Red Note for us to hear. And I think it's important that we, especially as populists, whether you're homeless from the left, homeless from the right, it's important that we keep open-minded and compassion and our humanity, and not fall for this shit when we know that Russia was a big hoax as far as Russia's taking over the world. We want a lot of our right-wing audience has also got to understand that China taking over the world is also a hoax. China being a leader in the new world, that's different. Being a leader is okay. They're not taking over the world. The people in China are good people. And I think we need to remember that about humanity in general. And humanity in general, we are good people. The trick that they pulled on us, they played a trick on us in our education system. They made us think that people themselves in foreign lands were naturally hateful and envious and jealous and vengeful and full of hate and rage and wanted to kill us and wanted to see harm to us. That's not true. That was never true. The only people that want to see harm are people in power. And they trick us into thinking that we need to be afraid of our neighbor. And when I say neighbor, I don't just mean next door neighbor, because we've talked about that, the Trump versus Kamala crap. Be afraid of your neighbor with a sign that doesn't look like yours. They also want us to be afraid of our neighbor across the oceans, in other lands, specifically China. And what Red Note has done for us, it's allowed us to be exposed to what people in China actually do think and feel when they learn about us and what they think about us. And what we've learned and discovered is that they feel empathy for us. They feel bad that we've been so propagandized, that we've been so captured to think that we have freedom, which we actually don't have. And they're not saying that they live in the greatest place on earth. They have problems as well, but they're just not as captured and as tricked as we are. They know the system they live in. We don't. So this story I'm going to leave you guys with is really heartfelt, and I want you guys to listen to it and know that no matter what happens with TikTok, we know that Trump put a 90-day extension. We'll be following that for the next 90 days. But Red Note is not going anywhere, and these relationships that people are making with each other are not going anywhere. They're here to stay. They're here to stay. That's the unfortunate. If you were a congressional member, that whether the Republican, Democrats, they all did it. They are all guilty of it, tricking us into saying that China's taking us over. That's why we're canceling TikTok. We know it's because it's Israel. Israel is the reason why TikTok got canceled. Again, we have a 90-day uphold on it. We'll see what happens in the next 90 days. But Red Note, the protest place that all the TikTokers went, ended up being a place to connect with Chinese citizens. You can't undo those relationships. You cannot close your eyes once you open them. You can't unsee what you see. And that's the aha to these assholes trying to get us to be afraid of China actually brought us closer. So with that said, thank you guys all. Thanks to DON DeBAR for joining us today, and all you guys engaging with us today's show. We will see you back here Thursday for more Homeless Left. Here's our outro. I got it queued up here. Pay attention to this, guys, and we'll read some of your comments on the way out today. But this one particularly struck a chord with me. It hit a soft spot. It reminds us that humanity is all we have. That's what connects us all. Humanity, goodness, kindness, good morals, good conscience. It doesn't matter where we're from. It doesn't matter what our ideology is. We all want the same things. We all want to be happy. We all want our families to be okay. So let's not let those world leaders pit us against each other anymore. Till next time, I'm Matt Weinglass, Homeless Left. Power to the people. Remind you to always look at things with non-tribal lenses, critical thinking skills. Go at everything with courage, with conviction, and above all, principle. Thank you guys, and we'll see you on Thursday.
To all TikTok refugees and our foreign friends, you might have felt the welcoming atmosphere on Red Note here, and you may also have seen comments like, finally Li Hua got his letter back. Let me quickly explain what this means and why all Chinese people are so eager to talk to you all. There's a story behind this. You know, Chinese schooling is very tough, and back in the school years, most of us were kind of scared of English exams. And there was always this short essay question on almost every exam. It usually starts with something like, assume that you're Li Hua, a grade 12 student writing to your foreign pen pal, Peter, Sarah, or Jennifer, to introduce cuisines in your hometown, invite them to travel in China, or something random like that. We spent years playing the role of Li Hua, writing thousands of essays in exams and test prep sessions. But honestly, we all questioned it at some point. Where is this foreign friend? I don't even know anyone named Sarah or Mike. Why am I doing this? There's no way I will ever need to write to like a foreign friend like this in real life, right? You know, China has sometimes felt isolated because of geopolitical issues. Foreigners don't visit China as much as they visit other Asian countries like Japan, Korea, or Thailand. Most of us rarely had the chance to speak with foreigners, and many people just assume they'd forget all the English they learned after college anyways. So what was the point of writing hundreds and thousands of fake English letters to an imaginary friend? Then one day in January 2025, after writing letters to an imaginary pen pal and never getting anything back for 10 years, we finally got a real letter back from you guys on Red Note. You're like Li Hua's pen pal finally coming to life. It feels magical. We never imagined people from the other side of the world could actually hear us and get to know us. We have been living in our own little Chinese internet bubble for so long. It's been fun, but we're missing something. And now that you are here, you make us feel like the world is actually connected. We want to share everything with you, our cats, our dogs, our jokes, our lives. You know, in Chinese, the internet is called 互联网, which literally means a net that connects everyone. And I think that's probably what the internet was always meant to be. I've seen lots of TikTok refugees posting things like, thanks for hosting us and being so nice to us recently. But we also want to say thank you. Thank you for coming over, trying to post in our language, talking to us, interacting with everyone. It makes us feel like we're not alone in this world. After all, we're all human, and deep down, humans are more alike than we're different.